first with respect to CHF.
Sells.
Sell.
And the bank with respect to dollar.
Buys.
Yes. Now, the other thing is, what is in the denominator?
Dollar.
The dollar. So, how do we read this quote? This is the rate at which the dealer or the bank sells dollar. This is the rate at which the dealer buys dollar. So the dealer buys dollars in our case, right? So this means the bid rate for the dollar, i.e. the dollar being in the denominator. Yeah? So this is the rate we use. So that's the first thing, to identify the rate, and then we convert the amount, 1 million CHF. We convert it at this rate.
Divide.
Yeah, divide. What if we had this? What would I do here? So we have Brazilian real, and the exchange rate is Mexican over Brazilian. I've just invented. What do we? So the point is, how do we multiply or do we divide in order to convert the Brazilian real into
We have
Mexican?
to multiply so as to get
Yes.
the.
Very good. Yes, so we multiply. Yes, so because, as I said, these are ratios, the Brazilian real is in the denominator, it goes with this stays on top, so this gives us a Mexican value. It was just a parallel to this one, to test that you are understanding. So, I don't know, does anyone have the number? A lot of you got the right numbers.
714 796.
714 796. Okay, thank you. So anyway, so the dollar, so you were saying the dollar cost, i.e. how much is the equivalent of a million CHF in dollars. And it is a cost because you're buying it, you're paying it. So that's why it is saying it is a cost. It's basically asking you to convert 1 million CHF into dollars. Okay, now volatility. What do you think would happen if a currency increases in volatility?
Spread increases.
Yes, very good. Why?
Because it's more risky.
Yes, very good. And then?
Uncertainty.
Yes, a risk and uncertainty. Therefore,
So the spread is used to cover up for the risk.
yes, compensate. Perfect. To cover you for that, yes. So it's basically a compensation for risk, for increased risk. So volatility means you could be in an unfavorable position, or you could be in a favorable one, but you demand compensation for being in an unfavorable one, for higher risk. So this would be the spread for anything. It can be a credit spread, a currency spread, they work the same. So now the last one is this triangular arbitrage or a 3-point arbitrage. We don't do 4 and 5, but there may be in the MCQs. You can check, but they won't be difficult if you get this idea. Now we have 3 currencies. One currency will be the vehicle currency through which you conduct the arbitrage, i.e. buy and sell the other 2 with the aim of obviously profit. Yeah, and that's it. And because you have 3 currencies, you will have 3 steps. We will see. Yeah. And you can actually do it very easily with trial and error. There are only 2 trials for a 3-point and 3 3 trials for a 4 point. But the higher it is, the more currencies involved, the more combinations, therefore it wastes time. So we will see now a quick way to do it the right way from the beginning. Yeah, so this is the most basic or primitive way of trading. Okay, now USD, we start with this. So this is how we know that this is our vehicle currency. So because we're told what we start with, and we will always be told, so euro, whatever, a highly traded currency, and we will arbitrage then between the other two more thinly traded currencies. So we know what we start with. These are all executable rates, so i.e. quotes from the market. So the quickest way to do it is we have to calculate first an implied rate between the other two currencies, and our other two currencies are Mexican and Canadian. Now what is this implied rate? This is a market rate. The implied rate is your own calculation. As a King student, you do the implied rate between the other two available rates and see is it in line with the market rate. So we're talking about these two. What should I do to them to get this quote?
1 divided by.
Yes.
by
Which one should we divide? So
Any of those.
1 divided by the
oh yeah.
MXN.
But if I want to start with this,
1 divided by 8
Right.
we start with Mexican. This is the most obvious way because we have Mexican on top over CAD over USD, right?
Yeah.
This is just a ratio. So this goes with that, and we have this the most, yeah? So we have, this number is, and this number is 1419. Okay, so we have Mexican over Canadian, and the ratio between these two should be around
6.61. 6.16.
1.6.
8.
Okay, great. Thanks. So 6.1 something. So now this obviously it is smaller than that. So I'm comparing this with this. So what do we say?
Buy less or
Yes, one step back. Which one is more expensive? Which one is cheaper?
The market.
The market is.
So this is less than.
sell the market and buy the other two.
By the.
Oh, wait. So, first, what I want to know is what does this inequality mean? 6.16, everyone agrees is less than 6.43. But how will you translate it in words in terms of the currencies? Which one is more expensive? Which one is less expensive? Which one is cheaper?
It's cheaper to do 2 steps than
Which
the 1
currency?
step. The market is
No, the CAD is
Which one is cheaper?
cheaper.
Yeah. So all I'm trying to get to is that the fact that we characterize or we refer to the denominator always.
Yeah.
So whenever we make a statement, just as we said in the lecture earlier, about premium and discount and so on, or more expensive, cheaper, we always refer to the denominator. Therefore, this inequality means that the Canadian dollar, because it is the numerator currency, is
Expensive.
lower, cheaper, theoretically, than on the market. In other words, the Canadian dollar on the market is too high, is more expensive. So the Canadian dollar is more expensive, or in fancy words, is overvalued. So CAD is overvalued, but not just overvalued. It's overvalued relative or with respect to the Mexican. Because remember, it's always one coin, and we have to describe it correctly. So it's not just overvalued, it could be overvalued with many other currencies, but in our case, it is overvalued with Mexican. It could be undervalued with the US dollar. So that's what we need to know. And what do we do with overvalued assets?
We
Sell
sell
them.
them.
Sell them.
Yes, so we will sell Canadian with respect to, or in other words, buy the Mexican. Okay, and this is what guides us or tells us exactly what we do in step 2. Remember, I said there are 3 steps. In the first step, because we start with $1, okay, first let me write the second step, which is exactly that. So we sell Canadian and buy the Mexican. If the Canadian is overvalued, the Mexican is undervalued with respect to each other. So that tells us what we do in step 2. Step 1 is also easy because it is given partly by the question. We start with $1, so we have $1. To get the ball moving, we sell the dollar and we buy something. What should we buy?
The Canadian.
Yeah, we buy the currency we need in
To
step
sell.
2. So it's the Canadian. And step 3 is easy because you always go back to dollars. So you will buy back your original. So you buy the dollar, and what are we selling? Yes, very good. So we sell whatever we were left with from step 2, Mexican. And this is it. Obviously, you can do it more quickly with arrows, and you do this just eyeballing it. But in the exam, you should write every step because it is important to pick up marks at every step. So the implied rate, which one is over
Ma'am,
on
can
the
you
value.
explain the third step?
Yeah, I'm coming back to it.
Wouldn't it have been best to do it with something, with another pair? One of them that had USD in it?
Yes, you can, but the USD is the numeraire currency, so you can do that, but it'll probably involve one more iteration because you're not starting with this. So you're going to get, let's say, compare CAD USD implied with this. So it will involve, I mean, it won't be incorrect, but it will involve one more iteration, I would assume. This is the quickest way. You don't have to, because you know what you start with. This is the vehicle currency, so therefore the other two are singled out. So you can compare directly with that. You see, so there are no other, or you can even do it in a basic way, but again, I don't recommend it. Just trial and error. So start with this and pick one, buy it, then sell it, and start the other way. But this is not what we're doing here. We are IF students, so we have a better way, yeah? Yeah, so you asked step
3.
yeah. So in step 3, we always want to go back to what we start. So we want to buy back dollars. So there could be many other intermediary steps. In the last step, in any of the types of arbitrage, we will buy back our dollar and sell the currency from the previous step. In the previous step, we were left with Mexican because we bought it. We sold Canadian and we bought Mexican. So at the end of step 2, we were holding Mexican. Okay, now let's look at the rates. Any other questions? Okay, so the rates. So we start with $1. I'll write it like this. And we're buying Canadian, therefore we need that quote, right? Do we multiply or do we divide?
Multiply.
Multiply.
Yes, very good. So we're left with how many Canadian dollars? 1419. Okay, here we have the Canadian dollars, 1419 Canadian dollars, and we're selling them for Mexican. Now we need the CAD RXN exchange rate, which is the one we said we were transacting at. Do we multiply or do we divide?
Multiply.
Yes, very good. And does anyone have a number?
9.1369. 9.1369.
Okay. Thank you. So then we have Mexican. This amount. And the exchange rate is Mexican US dollar. Do we divide or multiply?
Divide.
Divide.
Yes, very good. And what did you get?
1.0438.
So MXN goes with MXN, so we're left with 1
0438.
Yes, very good. And remember, we started with $1 and we end up with 104, so we got 4 pence. Sorry, 4 cents. So we have a profit. The higher the amount you start with, obviously it's a multiple, so the higher the profit. There was something. Yeah. So sometimes I get questions. Why are we buying the cat? Didn't we say it was overvalued? Can someone clarify?
So we can sell it and make money. Or make profits. Selling it.
Yeah. Yes, but it is correct. But the more complete answer would be that we are buying it, but we're buying it versus the dollar. You see, in order to sell it, as you say, later. So it matters the currency with respect to which you're buying or selling. So buying the CAD shouldn't alarm you. It's buying the CAD versus which currency. So we're only buying the CAD versus the dollar. And we are in fact actually selling it, which is what we should do with respect to MXN, because it is overvalued with respect to MXN only. Yeah. Now, if this happens more and more, is the last part. I don't know if I asked that question. If this happens more and more, what will happen to the currency pairs? So from step 1, what will happen to this currency pair? If more and more people do that, basically they will put pressure in that direction.
The prices of
Dollar
will go up.
In the first step, Canadian dollar exchange. Yes, very good. So the more and more people do that, the more and more people sell,
the price of dollar.
Exactly, the price of the dollar versus the CAD will go down, and so the price of the dollar with respect to the CAD will go down, so this ratio will go down. But as you noted, everything can be expressed in two ways. The more and more people buy the CAD, this goes up. Here, the more and more people sell the CAD, but the question is with respect to these given quotes. So you can add this, but mainly refer to these. Now, the more and more people sell the CAD, what will happen? Yeah, it will put downward pressure on the price of the CAD relative to the MXN, so this will go down. Now, the more and more people buy the dollar and sell the MXN, what will happen to the dollar?
Appreciate.
Yes, puts upward pressure. So this is how they change. Any questions? Do you want me to go over anything? Okay, well that's done. So, you've understood a big chunk of, because everything else that will come, as long as you understand the basics, so the inverse nature, the way they are quoted, the way we have the operations, the multiplication and so on, then, yeah, everything else will just be applications and different effects.